What if I told you that the person you trust most is playing you? What if that opportunity you're chasing was designed to keep you stagnated? What if every major decision you've made in the last year was manipulated by someone who saw you coming from a mile away? You think you're in control, but are you? Or are you just following a script someone else wrote, while convincing yourself it's your choice? Here's the truth nobody wants you to know. The world isn't playing fair, and your good intentions make you the easiest target. There are ruthless truths about human nature that most people refuse to see. But once you understand them, you become dangerous in the best possible way. Sharp, unmanipulatable, impossible to deceive. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Master the mind, and you rise above the chaos. Today, you will receive 7 brutal lessons rooted in Stoic philosophy that will rewire how you see people, power, and yourself. And lesson number 6 will completely disrupt how you view every single person in your life. If you're ready to see through the fog, smash that like button right now. This isn't entertainment. This is armor. Strap in now. We are about to embark on a deep wisdom dive. Lesson 1. Flattery is a sharp knife that was designed to cut you. You love being praised. Everyone does. Someone tells you you're smart, talented, special. It feels good. Your ego purrs, your guard drops, and that's exactly when you're most vulnerable. Because flattery isn't appreciation. It's reconnaissance. It's someone testing whether vanity is your entry point. Flattery works because it exploits a simple truth. You want to believe you're exceptional. So when someone confirms that belief, you don't question their motives. You just bask in that validation. But here's what's actually happening. They're building credit. They're making deposits into your ego bank so they can make withdrawals later. First comes the praise, then comes the ask. And because they've made you feel good, you're far more likely to say yes to whatever they want. Watch it unfold. Someone at work constantly tells you how brilliant your ideas are, how valuable you are to the team. It feels good. Then one day, they ask you to cover their project, take on their workload, and support their proposal in a meeting. Now you see, the praise was the setup. The real agenda arrived after you became invested in believing their version of you. Here's your filter. When someone praises you, especially excessively, ask yourself what they might want. Not because everyone is manipulative, but because understanding incentives keeps you in the clear. Genuine appreciation is specific and unattached, but flattery is vague and strategic. You're amazing. That means nothing. Now, here's the advanced move. When someone flatters you, don't reject it outright. That makes you seem insecure. Instead, acknowledge it neutrally and watch what happens next. If nothing follows, perhaps it was sincere. If an ask arrives within days, you've just confirmed the transaction. This is dangerous intelligence, enjoying praise without being blinded by it, accepting compliments without letting them compromise your judgment, while everyone else is getting buttered up and manipulated through their vanity. You're clear-eyed, skeptical, and in control. Lesson 2. Your mind runs on shortcuts, and everyone exploits them. Your brain is lazy. That is not an insult. It is neuroscience. You process 11 million bits of information per second, but only 40 make it to your conscious awareness. So your mind creates shortcuts, patterns, and assumptions to navigate reality without drowning in data. And every manipulator on Earth knows exactly which shortcuts to hijack. Epictetus taught that most people are controlled not by reality, but by their judgments about reality. You're not reacting to what happens. You're reacting to the story your shortcuts tell you about what happens. And if someone can control that story, they control you. Watch this play out. You're scrolling social media. You see someone's highlight reel, their vacation, their success, their perfect relationship. Your shortcut brain immediately runs a comparison. They have something you don't. Within seconds, you feel inadequate. You didn't choose that feeling. Your mental shortcut generated it automatically. Now you are in that loop, wallowing in content that triggers comparison, inadequacy, and the compulsion to keep scrolling. Here's your defense. Slow down the automatic reaction. When you feel something surge, envy, urgency, anger, desire, pause. Ask yourself, what shortcut just fired? What pattern is my brain running without my permission? Name the trick. The moment you label it, you break its power. This is dangerous intelligence, understanding that your mind is running code you didn't write, and until you audit that code, you're executing programs designed by people who profit from your predictability. Recognize the shortcut, override the impulse, decide consciously. That's how you stop being an easy target. Lesson 3. Your anger tells everyone exactly where to destroy you. You think anger makes you powerful. It doesn't. It makes you readable, predictable, controllable. The moment you lose your temper, you've handed your opponent the blueprint to your weaknesses. They know exactly which buttons to press, which words to use, which topics to exploit, and they'll press them over and over because angry people make stupid decisions. Think about the last time you were furious. How clearly were you thinking? How rational were your responses? Don't you see that emotional people are easy to manipulate? They can be baited into fights that damage them. They can be provoked into statements they'll regret. They can be steered toward choices that serve someone else's agenda. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As emperor, he was surrounded by people trying to provoke him, senators testing his patience, rivals hoping he'd overreact and discredit himself, critics trying to draw him into public feuds. His response? How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? He knew that reacting in anger would cost him far more than whatever triggered it. Here's what you need to internalize. Every time you explode, you're handing someone a weapon. Your anger shows them what you value, what threatens you, what you're insecure about. That argument you had where you screamed about being disrespected, you just told them that status is your weakness. They will use that. That time you lost it over being interrupted. You revealed that your need for control is fragile. They'll test it repeatedly. Now here's the move. Train yourself to pause in the 2 seconds between trigger and reaction. Someone insults you. You feel the heat rising. Before you speak, ask, what do they want me to do right now? What would anger make me do? And what would calm precision accomplish instead? In that gap, you reclaim control. When you respond with cold clarity, instead of hot emotion, you become unreadable. They pushed expecting an explosion. You gave them calculation. They tried to bait you into their frame. You stayed in yours. That's not weakness. That's dominance. This is dangerous intelligence, treating anger like a leak in your armor that needs sealing. While everyone else is giving away their weaknesses for free, you're staying composed, strategic, untouchable, and the people who tried to provoke you, they'll realize they're fighting someone who won't break. That's when they start breaking instead. Lesson 4. Every interaction is a negotiation, and you're already in it. You think you're just having a conversation. You're not. You're in a negotiation. Every single time you listen to someone speak, resources are being exchanged. Attention, status, power, agreement. Someone is trying to move you toward their opinion, their request, their reality. And if you don't recognize it, you're being moved without consent. Your boss asks how your weekend was. It seems innocent. It is not. They're assessing your mood, your energy, whether you're primed to take on extra work. Your friend suggests a restaurant. They're negotiating who leads, who decides, whose preferences matter more. Even silence is a move, sometimes the most powerful one. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire by understanding this. Every senator, every general, every advisor who entered his presence came with an agenda. The skilled ones hid it behind courtesy and flattery. The dangerous ones disguised it as concern for Rome. But Aurelius trained himself to see past the presentation, to the transaction underneath. What does this person want me to believe? What action do they want me to take? What will they gain if I say yes? Here's your new default setting. Assume intention behind every interaction. This is not paranoia. This is strategy. When someone gives you advice, ask yourself what worldview they're trying to install in you. The shift happens when you stop taking words at face value and start reading for subtext. That co-worker who keeps asking about your projects isn't just curious. They're gathering intelligence. That relative who questions your decisions isn't worried. They're uncomfortable with you making choices they can't benefit from. This is dangerous intelligence, recognizing that every conversation is someone trying to shape your reality. And once you see it, you stop being shaped. You start choosing. You negotiate consciously, instead of getting negotiated unconsciously. While everyone else thinks they're just talking, you're 3 moves ahead, seeing what they want and deciding what you'll give. Lesson 5. Inaction is still a choice, and it's usually the worst one. You think avoiding a decision keeps you safe. It doesn't. It just means someone else is deciding for you. Every moment you delay, every time you say, "I'll think about it," you're not buying time, you're surrendering control. Because while you're waiting for perfect clarity or ideal conditions, reality is moving forward without your input. That relationship that's draining you, not choosing to leave, is choosing to stay. That job that's killing your soul, not deciding to quit, is deciding to accept it. That risk you're afraid to take, not acting, is the same as choosing guaranteed stagnation over possible growth. You think you're being thoughtful, you're actually just letting fear dress itself up as wisdom. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly as emperor. Every day brought impossible decisions: who to trust, where to send armies, which laws to pass. Delaying a military decision meant soldiers died. Delaying justice meant corruption spread. He understood that inaction is still action. It is just the weakest, most cowardly version of it. Here's what inaction really costs you. Opportunities close, problems compound, resentment builds, and worst of all, you train yourself to be passive. Every time you avoid a hard choice, you strengthen the pattern of avoidance. You become someone who lets life happen to them instead of someone who happens to life. And eventually you look up and realize you've spent years reacting to other people's decisions instead of making your own. Now here's the reframe. Clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from action. You don't figure out what you want by drowning in analysis paralysis. You figure it out by moving, testing, learning. Make the decision with the information you have. If it's wrong, adjust. But at least you'll be gathering real data instead of imaginary scenarios. This is dangerous intelligence, understanding that the cost of wrong action is almost always lower than the cost of no action, because wrong moves can be corrected. Inaction just compounds. While everyone else is waiting for permission or perfect conditions, you're already 3 steps ahead, learning from real results and building momentum. Lesson 6. People don't ever want to hear the truth. You have noticed this. Tell someone an uncomfortable truth, and they'll reject it instantly. Tell them a comforting lie that confirms what they already believe, and they'll defend it like their life depends on it. Why? Because for most people, being right matters less than feeling right. The human brain is not a truth-seeking machine, it's a threat avoidance machine. Truth can be threatening. It might mean you were wrong, you wasted time, you need to change. So your mind does something insidious. It filters reality through biases that protect your ego and confirm your existing beliefs. You surround yourself with people who think like you. You consume content that reinforces your worldview. You dismiss evidence that contradicts your identity. Seneca watched this in Roman politics constantly. Politicians didn't want accurate reports from the provinces. They wanted reports that justified decisions they'd already made. Advisors who brought bad news were punished. Advisors who sugar-coated disaster were promoted. The system rewarded delusion because delusion felt better than accountability. You tell yourself you'll start that business when the timing is right, knowing deep down the timing will never feel right. You blame your circumstances, your upbringing, your bad luck, anything except the choices you make daily. You stay in situations that drain you, because admitting you wasted years is more painful than wasting more years. Your mind serves up justifications and you swallow them, because the alternative means confronting something you're not ready to face. Here's the brutal filter. Ask yourself, am I looking for truth or validation? When you're researching a decision, are you genuinely open to being wrong? Or are you just collecting evidence to support the conclusion you've already reached? When someone gives you critical feedback, do you genuinely consider it? Or do you immediately build a case for why they're mistaken? Most people optimize for comfort and call it wisdom. They curate their reality carefully, blocking out anything that disturbs their self-image, and they stay stuck in the same patterns for decades, wondering why nothing changes. This is dangerous intelligence, choosing truth over comfort, even when it hurts, even when it means admitting you were wrong, even when it forces you to change. Because while everyone else is building elaborate fortresses of denial, you're operating in reality. And reality is the only place where actual power exists. Lesson 7. The only lies that can destroy you are the ones you tell yourself. You can defend against every manipulation on earth, except this one, the stories you tell yourself to avoid hard truths. This is where most people lose, not to con artists or master manipulators, but to their own comfortable delusions. You deceive yourself better than anyone else ever could, because you know exactly which lies you want to believe. You tell yourself that person is trustworthy, despite 10 red flags screaming otherwise. Why? Because admitting you misjudged them means admitting you wasted time, ignored your instincts, chose poorly. So your mind rewrites the narrative. You give them another chance, and another, until the cost becomes undeniable. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. The business, the health kick, the hard conversation. But tomorrow never comes. Because the lie protects you from the fear of trying and failing. You'd rather live in the fantasy of potential than risk the reality of effort. Epictetus warned that self-deception is the only true prison. External manipulation requires someone else's effort. But self-deception, you build that cage yourself and lock the door from the inside. You ignore patterns, you rationalize bad decisions, You rewrite history to make yourself the victim instead of the architect. Here's the brutal truth. If you can lie to yourself, anyone can control you, because they just need to tell you lies that match the ones you're already believing. The way to become impossible to deceive is simple, but agonizing. Stop lying to yourself. Face the uncomfortable truth. Acknowledge the pattern you've been ignoring. Admit what you already know, but refuse to accept. This is dangerous intelligence, recognizing that clarity begins with brutal self-honesty. While everyone else is building elaborate justifications for their delusions, you're operating in reality, and reality is where power lives. 7 revelations, 7 weapons that shatter false reality, 7 ways to outsmart any deception directed at you. If you've stayed with me this far, you already have more clarity than 99% of people will ever have. Now comes the real question. Will you actually use it? Will you choose truth over comfort, discipline over distraction, growth over the warm embrace of mediocrity? These aren't just ideas, they're tools, and tools only work when you pick them up. So here's what you need to do now. If this hit you differently, if you felt something shift, smash that like button and subscribe, because you want these reminders to find you exactly when you need them most, when the world tries to put you back to sleep. Drop 3 words in the comments. I choose wisdom. Let that be your public declaration that from this moment forward, you're done being blind, you're done being manipulated, you're done playing small. The fog is lifting. Now walk forward with your eyes wide open.